Hi there, Sage Canaday of VO2 Max Productions here with another Training Talk Thursday. Thanks again for tuning in this Thursday. I really appreciate all the feedback and all the comments that I got on last week's video. And for those of you that are new, please share and subscribe if you like these videos. I do a new video every Thursday on comments that you suggest, so keep them coming. This week's comment comes from Daniel Commons. He commented, he asked me what's up with my background in running. How did Sage progress as a runner? I think he asked, and how do you know if you've tapped out your potential in the sport? And did I start out naturally being ahead of the pack, or did it take a lot of hard work? And so that's what I'll talk about here today. So basically, I started running when I was 12 years old. Well, actually, we'll rewind. I was always running around as a little kid playing tag like most little kids, and growing up in the sticks backcountry of Oregon, we used to run around the woods a lot playing tag, and you never thought about it. It's always fun aerobic activity, and my parents threw me into club soccer. I was playing soccer since I was 5 years old, and I loved soccer. I'd score goals, I'd run around, not really play a position. When you're a little kid, it's not too serious. So throughout school, I was doing that in the spring and the fall, and it was a good aerobic base when I look back on it now. And I consider myself to be a pretty fast sprinter. I'd go after the ball, but it was mainly I think I was just more serious about it. I took it really seriously. I was really determined to score goals, where other kids, maybe they get distracted and they, sit down in the grass and pick flowers, or get distracted by a bee flying around or a bird or something. But I was serious. I'd worked through some fatigue and pain, and I think when you're that age, a lot of little kids don't like to do that. But I was very disciplined minded. I didn't think of it that way. I just thought I was being serious. I was playing soccer. I wanted to score goals. But that's kind of the mindset that I took into middle school. And eventually, what happened was I was starting to play on more competitive teams, and I was starting to get my butt kicked. I was playing with guys that had good ball handling skills. They could dribble around me. They were faster sprinters. You're starting to go through puberty when you're in middle school. I was 12, 13 years old, and I went a whole season. Coach moved me back from forward to midfield. He's like, Sage, play outside mid, play outside left mid, and I kick with my right foot. And then it was like, well, I was getting a lot of assists, and that was great. And then coach pulled me aside one day, and I really remember this distinctly because it's when I decided to quit soccer. And he's like, Sage, you know what? You're better without the soccer ball at your feet. Just run up and down the field, be a decoy. You're great at running around the field. You're really fast, you keep running, and just don't touch the ball, basically. You're horrible. And it was at that point I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just stick to this running thing. And at that time, 6th grade track came along, and I went out for track. And I was running. I still wanted to be a sprinter. I wanted to be fast. I wanted to run the 100-meter dash, get the school record. It was like 12 seconds, 11 seconds, something like that. Something I couldn't run. And I went out for track. First race I did, 100-meter hurdles. I've got a video clip. I'll pull it up maybe right there. And I had gnarly form. I was 5 feet tall, 90 pounds. And I went out and I won my first race doing the 100-meter hurdles. But it wasn't pretty. And I quickly learned during that season that I should probably be moving up in distance. I tried some open 200s, some open 400s. Was getting pretty beat, and I even did 800 to 1500 meters. In Oregon, we ran the 1500 meters instead of the mile, which is 1600 meters, or 1609 meters actually. So it's basically the metric mile. And so I ran a 548 in the 1500, which was pretty good for someone that age, but it wasn't like, it didn't blow away the field. I was getting beat by 7th graders, and I was like, I'm okay at this, but I don't know if it's something I really want to do. So anyway, went into that season. I was running track and then going straight to soccer practice. Daily doubles. It was crazy. My parents were driving me all around. Must have been horrible for them. But they were really supportive, and I was doing all this homework, school, typical stuff like that. And, I went out for track originally because I was like, you know what? I should do another sport. Maybe I could get a girlfriend, want to impress the ladies. What else can I do? I'm too uncoordinated to play basketball or baseball or football. I'd get hurt. So went out for track. Next year, 7th grade, I quit soccer, and I'm 100% focused on running. And it was that year that I really had a good breakout year. And I was still probably running like 10 or 15 miles a week. I was doing wind sprints with the team. We were doing all these really fast stuff, playing games. I was serious, though. I wanted to be a distance runner. And I distinctively remember going out and running this one workout. We call it Birdhaven Loop. And it was probably less than 2 miles. It was like a mile. It was like 1.8 mile loop around this neighborhood from the school. And it was like our Wednesday long run that the team would do. All the sprinters had to do it. Everyone hated doing it except for me. I was serious. Birdhaven Loop was my bread and butter. I would go flying out the gym doors, determined I was going to beat everyone, determined I was going to run my fastest time ever. I had a little basic stopwatch, like a $10 stopwatch thing in my hand. And I went out running Birdhaven Loop, and I just wanted to crush it. And at first I wasn't always winning. There was another 7th grader and some bigger guys they could kind of stick with me. But as I got in better shape, I got really determined I was going to crush this long run of 1.8 miles, Birdhaven Loop. And so I'd just go sprinting out and die and fight through the pain. But it really helped me. And I had an older brother who was in high school, and he went out for cross country. And I learned what the guys were doing to train for 5K cross country. And they were doing intervals. They were doing VO2 max workouts, real reps, 1,000-meter repeats. So I'd go home after school, and sometimes on the weekends I'd measure out these 800 meters or 3 minutes hard, and I'd run that. I'd do 5 by 3 minutes hard, and I'd do all these really hard workouts, and I'd fight through the pain. And it was really painful and intense, but I didn't know anything about tempo runs or anything like that, or building my mileage up. But it really paid dividends. And basically, at the end of the year, I'd been whittling my time down in the 1500, closer to 5 minutes, 5:10, 5:08, through all these meets. And it was the last meet of the season, Athey Creek Middle School, suburb of Portland, Oregon. I went out there on a real hot day. I was in 7th grade, going against these big 8th grade guys. And I just went out there, ran one of the best races of my life. Just a really well-paced 1500, where I started out behind the field, and then I just accelerated in the middle, closed it then, ran a 4:47 1500. Totally, I just wanted to crack 5 minutes. I ran a 4:47, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I have something here. Maybe distance running is something that's come a little bit naturally to me. And so I wanted to exploit that. I wanted to see what my potential was in distance running at that point when I was in 7th grade. And so from then on, basically it's been year-round training, running. I don't do any other sport. I've slowly built my mileage up over the years. Going in, so at the end of 8th grade in middle school, I whittled it down to 4:30 in the 1500, which is a sub 5 minute mile equivalent. And I was definitely better at the 1500, and that was the longest event we had. So going into high school, 5K cross country comes around. I'm really amped up for that. And long story short, basically what I found in high school is that I was a lot better at the 5K. The longer distances, and I was a lot better in cross country versus track. Track I did okay, but cross country I came out. I was a top freshman in the state of Oregon. That was before Galen Rupp came out, though. Galen Rupp, if you know him, he came out our sophomore year and kicked my butt. But there were other guys. Ryan Vale, who's a professional marathoner now. It was just a really loaded class. Oregon high school class of 2004 was my high school graduating class, large school division, and so. I slowly progressed throughout school. I wasn't a record beater. I never made states in track. I was too slow. But what I learned, one of the key things I learned from track in high school was that it's easy to overtrain. And my distance coach, he was a great guy, great coach. He was my calculus teacher. But he also coached the long jump. And he kind of wanted to limit my mileage, which was a good and bad thing, because I didn't progress as much maybe as I could have in high school, but he also wanted to keep things under control. And we did a lot of really hard burning 400-meter repeat workouts, which helped some of the milers and some of the faster guys on the team, but sometimes it fried me. And I learned that kind of the hard way in track in high school. And so I never qualified for states. I did okay though. I trained myself over the winter. My friend and I, who ended up actually running a faster 3K time than I did in high school, Bertine Alvarez, we were running close to 40, 50 miles a week our junior, senior years of high school. And we'd go out and we'd do these 7-mile long runs around the neighborhood after school in the cold rain all winter with our cotton hooded sweatshirts on. And we just thought we were, putting in this huge base, and we were, and it was great. And I started reading Jack Daniel's book, Distance Running Formula, and some other books. And I was like, we should do tempo runs. We should do some intervals. And for one phase of training in 4 weeks over the winter, I started doing 1,000-meter repeats. I did mile repeats, and I got in really, really good shape really fast. And I ran an 8:46 3K, which was a pretty solid time for me, and it ended up being my senior year PR in high school. But it was in the middle of the winter. We didn't even have an indoor track season. We had to go up to Seattle to run on this indoor track meet. And basically what happened was I peaked too soon that year, and it was because I did all these intervals early in the season. By the time the spring rolled around, I was fried, I was burned out, I never ran faster than that again. So lesson learned in high school. And I was lucky enough to be able to run Division I NCAA at college in Cornell University. And I always joked with my college coach, Robert Rojo Johnson, because he co-founded the site letsrun.com. And I used to say that the website itself was a bigger recruiting tool for me than what his recruiting efforts were, because he didn't really recruit me that much. I wasn't a blue chip type of recruit. I was basically a 9:25, 9:22 miler, and we were getting guys that had run 9:10 in the 2 mile or below. Those were the blue chip recruits. We had guys who'd run 4:13 in the mile coming out of high school at Cornell. So I was kind of fringe making the team. I had a horrible freshman year of college. I basically gained the freshman 20 in the first 3 months of school, and I ended up being low ferritin levels, low iron, kind of anemic, and not running well. Mechanical engineering at Cornell, aerospace engineering, was really hard on me. So I almost stepped away from running after my freshman year of college. I was running slower. I think I ran a 3K indoors and I ran over 9 minutes, and it was slower than what I ran as a sophomore in high school. So Division I, NCAA Division I college runner running slower than a sophomore in high school, a mediocre sophomore in high school, that's not good. I should have been cut from the team, but I wasn't. I hung in there, and long story short, I progressed over the years. Rojo had a real good training philosophy with his sidekick, John Kellogg, who also had written a lot of training articles on letsrun.com about how we should train like marathon runners to build our aerobic base, very linear based, building an aerobic base to run really well at 5K, 10K on the track, and 8K cross country. And I found out also that I was a lot better at cross country than track. So I ended up winning the conference title for the Ivy League Conference in 2008 in the 10K on the track, and did run sub 30 for 10K, which for someone, as a 4:30 miler coming out of high school, that was a pretty good progression, and I owe it a lot to those 100-mile weeks that we did in high school. And there were lots of guys on the team doing the 100-mile weeks, and guys that were more talented than me that either got injured or they didn't quite pan out. Maybe they were better at the 3K steeplechase. Maybe they ran a 14:25K and beat me. But the 10K was my thing for a while, and cross country was definitely my thing. I was definitely had a knack for going over hills and being on uneven surfaces. I didn't quite have that flat track speed. So it was something I definitely had to work really hard for over the years. Like my best cross country season going into my senior year, I had 16 weeks in a row in that summer where I was over 100 miles a week in training, and I even ran up to 150 miles a week once in college, which is a little excessive probably, but it was the hard work that I thought would give me the edge over guys that were more talented than me. I mean, we had guys who ran 50 miles a week that were running 14:30 for 5K, and we had 4-minute milers on the team. And just when you look at the NCAA Division I level, going against guys like Galen Rupp, they were just minutes ahead in a 10K, or they were gone at nationals. So it was definitely very humbling to be in that collegiate environment and running shorter distances on the track where I totally got my butt kicked. And I've never got my VO2 max tested over the years. I'd estimate it's probably around 70 or 72. I don't think it's really that high, but I think my lactate threshold, and this is something that everyone can improve, you train your lactate threshold to be close to a velocity of your VO2 max velocity, and you close that gap, you could hold a better pace for longer distances. And that really comes to play big dividends in a half marathon or a marathon race. And so I found that out in college, that I kind of had a knack for the marathon. I did the marathon trials in 2007. I ran a 2:21:43 marathon when I was a junior at Cornell and qualified for the trials. I was the youngest guy there at the age of 21. So that was a good experience, and that was kind of what intrigued me to try longer distances. And so I guess I've always felt that my greatest strength as a runner probably was being able to put in the miles and being durable, not getting an overuse injury. If we could knock on wood there. No stress fractures, no tendonitis that's taken me out from training yet. But So I graduated college in 2009 and I went straight into pro road marathoning. I ran for the Hansons Brooks Distance Project out of Rochester, Michigan. And that was a really great experience because I got to pick the minds of Olympians, basically. One of my training partners was Brian Sell, who ran in the Beijing Olympics. And he was a 210 guy, he was fourth at Boston. Real great guy to be around, real hard worker. He was known for running 160, 170 miles a week. So he was still in his last year in the program there when I joined, and I was this slow guy on the team basically, all these 215 guys and faster in the marathon. So I talked to Brian. I said, we talked about old training, talked about, what he did, and he worked his butt off. And all those guys on the team, and the women's team too, Desiree Davila, when I was there in the program, she got second at the Boston Marathon. And so it was really cool to see runners who had made the Olympics, to have them as training partners. And I learned a lot from overtraining. I had a horrible first year there as well. Running in the cold Michigan winters for sure was challenging for me. And I eventually popped some good times. I ran a 104 and a half and a 216 in the marathon on the roads. And it took a lot of 120, 130 mile types of weeks, a lot of workouts, running under 5-minute mile pace or doing a lot of lactate threshold work basically, and 20-mile long runs. But eventually I wanted to try something different. I wanted to extend my long runs over 20 miles because they always kind of limited me to that. So after the Olympic trials in 2012, where I kind of had a subpar race, running 218, 20 something, I decided to move on. And so after that I moved home to Oregon for a little bit and then came straight here to Boulder, Colorado. And I think being in Boulder has actually really helped with my running. There's a lot more opportunities for running on trails, running on different surfaces, getting in more vertical, but also the altitude factor. And I'd say it definitely took me a good 9 months to really adjust to the altitude and get some benefits, but I definitely believe in altitude training. And ideally you'd cycle it, but I'm here at 5,200 feet right now and it feels great. So that's what I did basically before going into trail running full time. So the years progressed, gone into mountain ultra trail running since 2012, and just really had fun slowly moving up in the distance, and haven't done any 100-milers yet, but definitely plan on doing one probably next year, and just learning something from every race. And I think that's the key takeaway is that, no matter how old you are, someone asked me, the second part of this question is, do I think I've reached my potential? And I'll say no, I hope not. A lot of marathoners do around the age of 30, in your early 30s if you're a guy. Maybe you're starting to get a little tapped out in the 10K or half marathon. But I mean, look at guys like Meb, still rolling real fast in the marathon, still favorite to make the Olympic team. And then if with females, it's even better. You could be well into your 40s and 50s still running a real fast marathon. And with the longer distances with ultras, definitely could be rocking it when you're older. And I think the key element with that is also your training age, not your actual physical age, but your training age. When did you start running? So, I'm 16 years old in my running training age. I've been running year-round for the last 16 years of my life, but a lot of ultra runners that I meet in their 30s or 40s or 50s, maybe they just started 5 years ago. Maybe you just started a couple years ago. So your training age is relatively young. You have a better ceiling, a better potential to aspire to reach up to. And you build your mileage up slowly over time. And it takes years to pay off with the building an aerobic base. It's like the 10,000 hour rule. You got to practice. Well, build your aerobic base with miles and get stronger and stronger and stronger. Learn through experience, learn to increase your lactate threshold, learn how to train, learn what workouts you respond to well. Those are the key things that I've taken away over the years. And so hopefully I could keep the momentum going. A lot of it maybe comes down to not getting injured, just being able to be consistent, eating healthy, not trying to get too stressed out over other life issues. Things like that, I think, really pay dividends in the long run. And you're definitely gonna have your ups and downs. I've been anemic, I've overtrained, I've had disastrous races. It's always been like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 1 step forward, just ups and downs, and you kind of have to roll the punches over the years. But I think hopefully I could keep progressing, and hopefully a lot of people, if you're relatively new to the sport, you could definitely keep progressing. Even if you're a lot older than I am. I consider myself to be a relatively young ultra runner still. And I still want to get back in the marathon and run faster times and maybe try to crack 2:15 or whatever time goal. Just a PR would be nice. And so ultimately, it just kind of depends what you want out of the sport and how much time you are willing to put in, how much time and energy you're willing to put in, or how much time and energy you have to put in. I should say that's probably more of a limiting factor, but it's definitely fun to progress. And even as you get older, even I want to be able to be one of those guys that's still running when I'm in my 60s and 70s, hopefully. And I'll be a lot slower then. Maybe I won't be as competitive, but I still want to get out there and enjoy the sport and enjoy the thrill of pushing myself and doing the best with what I have. And I definitely have been really lucky, really fortunate to be involved in the sport for so long so far, and to be able to have the opportunities I have. And it's definitely something that I definitely have maybe some natural ability, I'd say, maybe more injury resistance ability than actual heart and lungs, but it definitely takes a combination of hard work and some natural ability, and just doing the best with what you've been given, I think, is a key takeaway, and to enjoy the sport. I mean, it hurts, it takes a lot of energy, it's a huge sacrifice sometimes, but that's also why it's so rewarding. And it's really rewarding to cover a certain course or cover a certain distance, and just to finish that distance, and not even sometimes compare times, because in ultra races a lot of times weather conditions and things like that could really hamper time. So it's not always about that. It's not always about this linear progression, because it's not going to be a linear progression. It's going to be up and down, and things go exponential sometimes, but you roll with the punches and you just keep doing what you like and try to persevere. And that's kind of been my attitude throughout this whole thing. So I've probably ranted for way too long now, but thanks again for tuning in to VO2 Max Productions Training Talk Thursdays, and feel free to comment below with the new training talk topic for next week and vote, because whichever one gets the most thumbs up will get my attention. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more VO2 Max Productions.